2v2 action returns on VenomousStare's YouTube channel. This time we have a exciting game on Shrines of Linzul. The blue team of this incredibly small map is Fun Duck and Savagewood, our protagonist. Shout out to the frauds at Blizzard for still not fixing this bug. You know, it's only been about 2.5 years of going into a replay and you can start it from the beginning or open up the menu and suddenly the clan logos don't show up and it's just this freaking weirdo. I mean, who the hell is this? I hate seeing this guy. Anyway, I gotta zoom way out. Fuck looking at that guy. I just want to point out that I tried this cast once before and there were audio issues, so I had to restart it. And just me hitting B 3 times on the keyboard to rewind the replay screwed all the clan picture logos up. So we have King War here on the bottom left, Mike Trout, and his ally Predator. This map, of course, Shrines of Linzul. I know I've talked about this basically every time that I cast a game on this map, but it is a cheese map. It is incredibly small. Just look how short the rush distance is. I mean, basically, from natural to natural is one screen over. Savagewood opening for multiple barracks here, but without a gas. This is indicative of a massive marine build, like a 6 racks, a build that TLO popularized when he was having wrist issues and playing Terran in 2010 and 2011. And he actually beat Idra with that build on, I think, Metalopolis. And it was one of those weird things where he shows up with a ridiculous amount of Marines, and Idra tries to engage it, and TLO just target fired all of the slow bands. And it's one of those things where Zerg had to constantly be building up their Ling Bane and then sort of win in one big engagement, and to lose all your Banelings when they were on your front door was basically GG, and TLO would end up beating Idra in that best of 3. Fun Duck here is going for what appears to be either a 3-gate or a 4-gate. We'll see how this progresses. He's intelligently chronoing his cyber core. On Shrines of Linzul, this is actually something that's very smart to do. I would say that Protoss is the weakest race on Shrines of Linzul. Predator's going to scout around with the Reaper. 6 racks is very good against Reaper, especially 1 Reaper openers, not the multiple racks. Extended, 3 racks Reaper pressure. Earlier, whenever I said whenever you scout into a Terran's base and you see 3 quick barracks, it can be the TLO 6 racks build, which is what this is, but it could also be this old school MVP build that MVP used to do in Wings of Liberty, where he would go 3 racks expand. That's a very sort of safe expansion opener. It's sort of fallen out of favor because of how good the Reaper is, but in some scenarios that it can still be used, especially in 2v2. Remember, in 2v2 you have a lot more leeway in terms of which strategies you can do and your timings that you can get away with, as we see additional gates going down, and a Twilight is about to complete here for Fun Duck. CC over here on the right side for Predator. Usually when you see a CC out here, they intend to float it down and sneak a base. I honestly don't think this is very good. In some ways, if you play very defensive on this map, once you establish this choke, you can actually take 3 bases between the 2 of you. And getting to that point is the hard part, of course. And if we take a look at King War, Mike Trout, we can see that he's going for a ludicrously safe opener. A 3-gate, no expansion, 1 base build with 3, count them, 3 shield batteries at the top of the ramp, and he's going for Mass Adept. This is incredibly strong for a multitude of reasons. Notice he has a ton of pylon support. The Adepts shred light units, and Savagewood has Marines without any combat shield, and that is just absolutely brutal whenever you're fighting Adepts. And Funk Dunk calls for a back right as the first siege tank is established, so the red team is in dire straits here if the siege tank gets focused down, and it does. And notice Savagewood is peeling back to try to aggress upon the Protoss army so they don't get sandwiched at the ramp. And Fun Duck, he's not going to try to kill the tank, he's just going to try to run by the bunker, and he takes a ton of damage there as Predator came forward with some nice SCV repair micro. He's going to empty the bunker. and kill these two stalkers. The CC is being lifted here for Predator. Now a lot of times if you're being all in and you've gone for an in-base expansion as Terran, one of the things that you can do is actually just make it an orbital, keep it in your main, and have double mule, or the ability to scan. And Savagewood's not really going to be able to do anything to this triple shield battery. Obviously Adepts are very good versus Marines, especially Marines without upgrades. Furthermore, the Red Protoss King War could just make one sentry. And Predator is going to venture out with his tanks. Now we see something interesting here, and that's the fact that on the smallest map that actually favors cheese play more than any other map in the ladder pool, whether it be 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, this is the cheesiest map, and it's been in the map pool for a long time, as the Speed Zealots are going to pick up a tank. Predator was trying to do sort of a delayed push out, slowly leapfrogging tanks forward, but you have to be very diligent about covering those tanks, and in 2v2, whenever you have to consider there can be twice as many units, it can be very difficult. One of the things, as we see an engagement coming down here, the Speed Zealot screaming forward. Savage would remember no stim yet because Sixrax is so all in. He's going to stutter step forward, but he's trying to focus the tanks. Tanks on this map are incredibly good. The rush distance is not very far. You can sort of get up into your opponent's shit, as it were, very quickly. And this red base isn't even an orbital yet. You always want to make CCs an orbital as soon as they finish, as a tech lab is focused down, because what can happen is, as I said before, you can just accumulate up double energy and it becomes very good. Savagewood, after picking off a tech lab and lots of SCVs, is going to put the Terran Predator behind. But this means that once you make your orbital, as soon as the CC finishes, once you finally land it at your natural, you're going to have enough money for more than one mule, as opposed to landing it, having to start the orbital, and it being delayed significantly. Remember, things that have energy, you frequently want to get them going early so they can accumulate energy. Savagewood kills even more SCVs, and now Predator is down to less than a handful. Doesn't even have the money to upgrade this, which again is why you do it when you can, because if you fall behind as Terran, one of the best ways to come back is double mule. Dark Shrine is done here for Funduck, and King War is just continuously trying to harass with Adepts, but Savagewood is really buttoned up here. He doesn't have anything to lose at his natural. He's added on some tech labs so he can start researching and go into Marauders. But look at this, Funduck is in an excellent position. He's even building a shield battery in his... Oh, no, he's not. That was a Stalker. My bad. But this is a great move to be defending his natural with Blink Stalkers. And they're going to reshade into the natural again. He really wants to kill these probes. But Blink Stalkers are pretty good against Glaved Adepts. And furthermore, Blink Stalkers are good on this map because there's going to be a lot of scrapping, a lot of poking and prodding, and probably some low econ play. So you want to be able to make these intelligent blink trades. Notice that basically the majority of the main base is exposed to blink micro and is basically one big cliff. Furthermore, having blink on a map like this where it's so chodish and the rush distance is so small that controlling these watchtowers and delaying pushes is very important. Part of the reason why tanks are so good on this map is because if you can just get a little bit of running up with the tank, you can basically siege in like the god position that's going to cut off and pressure both ramps. So that's why tanks are so good. King War has taken his natural. Predator has mule hammered the gold. Notice he does not have a starport. He's pretty behind economically still, but he's diligently pumping out tanks. And he's going for a second bunker, which is actually good on this map. You won't actually see double bunker like this on very many maps, but it's actually smart on this map. King War has an obs. He should probably venture out with that. Having vision on this map is very important. Probably more important than most maps because, of course, the rush distance is so short that if you get caught off guard even a little bit, you can be dead, especially as Zerg. This map is pretty good for Zerg early because they can use Lings to pressure the early bases, but It's sort of bad for Zerg in the mid and late game. If you're Terran, you really want to focus on tech-heavy units, like tanks and liberators in this. Because a big weakness of tanks and liberators is running them into the certain spot that you want, getting them in position where they can really suffocate your opponent. And on this map, you know, it's only one screen over from natural to natural, so it's not exactly difficult to get in those positions. Thankfully for King War, Predator does have a nice defense set up at his front door. This is very off-putting if you're scouting around as the blue team and thinking about wanting to attack. Observer already out, so the DTs aren't really going to do that much. They don't even get a swipe off. They might die just completely for free. Notice he didn't get Shadow Stride and he loses them all for nothing. That's why the DT Blink upgrade Shadow Stride is worth getting, because of the cost is so small that, well, put it simply, if you save one DT, the upgrade's worth it. And because Funduck invested so much in those DTs and did absolutely nothing, the army here isn't very big, and since King War has had Robo for a relatively long time, he's been diligently pumping out Immortals. Immortals decimate tanks, they decimate Marauders, they decimate Stalkers, basically anything armored, they hard counter. So it looks like instead of getting a Robo of his own, Funduck on his 3-base economy is going to take Geysers 5 and 6 and go into Stargates. He's got 2 so far, and judging by the second Cyber Core, I think he's going to add more. No gases here at the gold base of Predator. King War just now taking his gases, and this base is still untaken. It is still vacant due to the severe economic damage that Predator suffered through. But this is the problem. The red team has so many money units between the Immortals and tanks that if they execute a push, it would be very dangerous. If you're Protoss, you really want to have, you know, Disruptor or Storm or Colossus. This is one of these maps where tech matters a lot. The amount of tech units you have that can control space is very important. And Savagewood reminding his teammate, you gotta start those air upgrades, cowboy. You know, they can A-move and be at our base in 15 seconds, and a bunch of 0-0 Void Rays or Carriers ain't gonna cut it. Nice OBS placement here from King War, because once someone shows Blink, it is a common strategy to poke up here, blink in, snipe upgrades, blink away. Now remember, early in the game, Savagewood did snipe the tanks, and he did snipe the tech lab of the factory. Theoretically, this could be, you know, 8 tanks. That would just be absolutely brutal. Very scary stuff. And again, Savagewood having to remind his ally to execute basic macro. You know, oh, you're building 4 Stargates? Well, you probably should get air upgrades, kiddo. Oh, your 4 Stargates finished and they're starting to pressure us? Maybe you should, you know, make something. Funduck adding a bunch of pylons at once because he's too bad to macro for real. He is taking this nice little base in the bottom right. You like to see this. Predator is just trying to control the map, get some pressure in the middle of the map, get a little bit of a foothold. Because when you have this many tanks, you can actually do a lot of damage just by getting in a spot like this. And after taking the tower, Savagewood was caught off guard because the red team pushed him off the tower, and then he lost quite a bit of bio there. He's going to try to siege up some Liberators. Funduck's thinking about going in, but the tanks are just so brutal. Savagewood's tanks are being decimated, of course, even though he did have them staggered relatively. Funduck sort of sat behind them and didn't do much. But with the Immortals of the red team, it is going to be very hard for the blue team to hold this push. A little bit of an elevator play, as the pylon is going to be sniped while most of the units are being protected from the low ground tanks. 2 pylons are sniped right before +1 weapons finishes, which is just terrible. Thankfully Funduck starts another pylon immediately. Savagewood here just desperately trying to hold his base. He did grab this PF, which if you play Terran on this map, you really want to grab that PF because you can just float it down and make it pretty hard to kill. Savagewood going to war with the Stalker Immortal army, but suddenly the red Terran throws in his reserves and Savagewood has to back out. He's sieging Liberators, he's trying to go for zone control, and now he's going to do a bit of a Bulldog maneuver, which is when you drop units from an air unit onto siege tanks. He's going to damage them severely, make them friendly fire, and then the Protoss carriers are going to be able to easily clean up. Savagewood continuing to siege forward and try to defend his base. This tank liberator combo is nice, and if we look at the upgrades, we see how Savagewood did so well against that Protoss army when it looked like the Protoss army with all those Immortals just going to crush through. It's because he had such a significant upgrade advantage. And here, Savagewood goes for a drop right as some Immortals push down, and even though repair is very strong, Immortals can be terrifying because of all the front-loaded anti-armor burst damage they do. But intelligently, Savagewood's going to preemptively drop the drop and bring the rest of his army over. Now whenever you go for a mass Stargate air like this, there's really no reason to delay the mothership. The mothership is so powerful and it's such a pain in the ass. Beautiful observer there for King War. You really want to get that mama ship as fast as possible. So Savagewood is going to aggress as he starts 3-3 for his bio and +1 for his tanks. And he's going to siege a few Liberators as well as a tank. And this very technical Terran army is very difficult to engage into. And whenever you have a significant upgrade advantage, it can be very, very difficult for the Protoss player to take fights because they'll go in thinking that they can easily win the fight and the bio upgrades will really do a number, especially with medevacs. But Storm is sort of the great equalizer. Storm really does devastate Terran. Savagewood's going to re-siege the Liberators, get one of them picked, but some stem bio will scare the Protoss. But look at this, the carrier army of Funduck has backstabbed the Terran, and there's really nothing there for the Terran to defend with. Savagewood's going to keep pressing forward here with the Liberators, distracting his Protoss opponent, rather, to make sure that the Protoss opponent on the red team isn't able to help and evade his Terran ally. See, notice still no mothership. You throw a mothership in this, a couple High Templars even, it becomes the God Army. The Finger of God, as Artosis nicknamed it. And this is what you want to do whenever you have a macro advantage and your ally is doing really good work. You just want to slowly expand, try to keep them busy, check the bases, and establish a foothold on the map and choke your opponent out. You don't want to A-move everything you have into their army, but look at this. Establishing a Liberator zone, getting turrets up. This is so underrated, especially on this map. If you're going to do pushes like this with siege units, mix in a turret. It prevents them from throwing observers at you. Remember guys, observers are absurdly powerful units. They're very underrated. And if your Protoss opponent always sees exactly what you have and how much there is, where you have it, and the allocation of your units, they can make easy decisions. Reinforcements are going to try to hold off the Stalker along with the tank, but the Stalkers actually took quite a bit of damage because of the upgrade disparity. I know I'm mentioning it a lot, but when it's almost 5 whole upgrades, it just gets filthy. And the blue team is going to take the W here as they had established corner base control. And essentially whenever the red base here was destroyed as the carrier counterattack came through, that was the moment the game was decided. But this PF over here was very clutch because frequently if you're Terran, the Zerg or the Toss is going to want this gold, which is fine. In team games, you don't want to be frugal and want to always make your third base an orbital like it's 1v1. You can afford to take a PF because a lot of the bases are going to be more dangerous. And a PF with a couple of turrets around it is a huge pain in the ass for the other team. Especially when you consider how difficult it would be to actually hold an orbital up here. Because in general, for most of the game, both of your armies are going to be parked at your ramps. Only when the game sort of transitions more to mid and late are the fights going to occur more around here. Remember how absurdly powerful these towers are. Make sure you subscribe for more.